What's up YouTube, Mr. Llama here, and today I am going to be talking about Torchlight Infinite yet again. Yes, I just finished about a 25-hour playthrough of this game. I had an absolute blast with it. I have done sponsorships for this game multiple times, and I don't do multiple sponsorships for a game unless I really enjoy it. So I will just say that right there. It was really, really fun. Highly recommended. I have a link down below. I'll post in the comments where you can get it yourself. It is free to play. Yeah, let's just dive in. This is going to be a deep dive on the game. So first things first, Torchlight Infinite has been live for about 3 months now. This is the start of Season 2. The Shattered Black Sail. This gives you all the kind of information about it. But the way that they do it is every 3 months they're releasing another league for the game, right? So it's just going to be the next season with new stuff. Here's some lore if you want all of that. What they bring in this season is they bring a couple little, like, at the end of maps, you can fight a new boss, and then when you kind of collect enough of that, you fight like a bigger boss, and then if you get all of the invitations, you go fight the main boss, right? Pretty simple, pretty fun though. Nice little addition there of additional content that you can use for some things. And then additionally, what I really liked about the new league was the hero relics and the hero memories. So that stuff we'll talk about a little bit later. But think of those just kind of like charms, right? It's a little bit of like adding charms into the game. So here are the heroes. You have Berserker Rihan. He's kind of your classic barbarian. You have Divine Shot Carino. He is your projectile, range shooter, bow, gun, whatever you would like. And there are different traits as well. So Lethal Flash versus Ranger of Glory is going to be a slightly different way to play the character. You have Frostfire Gemma. This is who I played on my playthrough. And she has Icefire Fusion or Frostbitten Heart. I played the Icefire Fusion trait. So if you want to be like a little bit more into cold damage, you would go with Frostbitten Heart there, right? If you want to kind of have that mix and match, you go with the Icefire Fusion. There's Space-Time Witness Yuga. So this Space-Time Illusion trait's pretty cool. He gets like a clone of himself that always kind of moves around and shoots and stuff, does the main attack. And if you would prefer to have like a dot damage build, this is the Space-Time Elapse build. And then lastly, we have Commander Moto, Order Calling. This is his just kind of main trait, and I'm sure they're going to continue to introduce more traits, hero traits. And these are like different builds, kind of. I don't want to say different builds, but different play styles for the characters. And he's kind of your summoner support character. Now, there are 2 additional characters. There is also Oracle Thea, and there is Cat Eye Erica. Oracle Thea, you can get right now, I believe, for Primocris, which is just like a currency that you can get in the game. And Cat Eye Erica comes with the season pass. But every season, it will roll to the next stage. So Oracle Thea will be able to be gotten with a different currency in the game that's really easy to get. Like I could get her right now if I really wanted. And then Cat Eye Erica will then move to the Primocris, and then the next season she'll move to the easier currency as well. So like I say, if you just like play through the game, you'll be able to get those characters once it comes off that season pass. So that is that piece. Like I said, I went with this, and here you can see my character right there. So let's go ahead and dive in. So let us discuss a little bit about hero traits. We can start right there because we were just kind of talking like, ice and fire, right? That's what this character is. That's the hero trait that I have. And it gives you a little description of what you get. The max fusion energy gains the energy right here. Fire and cold damage for every point of fusion energy. And again, something that's fantastic about this game, if there's anything you don't understand, you just click on it and it just gives you information. It's super nice. It tells you everything that you want. The tooltips in this game are absolutely fantastic. They did a great job with those. So that's the base piece of what the character is. And then here are the trait details where you can see at level 13, 32, 50, 62, and 80, you have a large variety of all these different traits that you get to choose as you play through the game. And these are pretty big for your power boost. So every time you get kind of a new hero trait, you definitely get a little ramp up on your character. Also, don't be afraid to play around with these because you might notice that your damage doubles or something with a different setup of your hero traits. That's what happened for me. I was trying to fight the final boss in the game. I kept losing. I came into my hero traits, changed them up, and my damage doubled, and I was able to finally beat that boss. So they're a really big component right there. Make sure that you're really looking at what they're doing, and then just test them out, you know? And then the hero relics and memories. This is the piece I was talking about before that got added in. So they added in hero relics right here. And here you can see are some of the different relics I have. And this is my best one. This is the one that I went and got. It's got 36% cold damage, 16% fire damage. That, of course, is very good for my character since I'm an ice fire fusion build. And so that's really nice. But you can see you can also get, you know, added damage to spells. You can get things like resistance on it. There's a variety of things. Additionally, what you'll notice is there is these slots in it. So this has 3 slots. This has 1 slot. This has 2 slots. The more slots, the better, because you're going to be able to then put these hero memories in. So you can see this is attack speed, cast speed, and crit strike right there. This memory is added cold and fire damage, and this memory is also added cold and fire damage. Again, I'm Ice Fire Fusion. This is just good for my character. So the more slots that you can open up, the better it is, because obviously you can get more of the memories to put in there. So there's plenty to go along with this. Just a nice, simple way to kind of increase your damage and boost your character up as you go along. Moving on, we have skills and energy. This is one of my favorite systems in the game. It's actually really, really cool. So skills are built in the way that you have 5 main skills and 3 passive skills. And one of my skills is a potion. So if you want to have a potion of some sort, this is going to be a skill that you'll use as well. So you have the main skill, and then you have supporting nodes and support skills that go in it. And you can see not every skill has the same number of pieces supporting it, right? And this is all essentially up to you. You get to mix and match however you would like your skills to be. So I can say, you know what? I actually don't want there to be this. I'm going to remove that, and that gives me a little more energy. And I'm actually going to remove this. And if I had 2 more energy, I could do whatever. But instead, I'll go here, and I'll go here, and I'll get this 4th node, right? And so now I've got this node, and I have a 4th node that I can put this spell on for this skill right here, as opposed to just having the 3. But obviously, then I'd be, you know, losing my magical source, losing my imbue enhancement. So it's trade-offs, and it's stuff that's really interesting as you're playing through the game. I actually want those, so give me those back. It's really cool because I was constantly balancing out, moving up and down with, you know, okay, well, I actually feel like I can run less curse on hit for this, and I can increase, you know, my Frost Terra, so I can have a better DPS, you know, piece right there. I can have a nice dot that does good damage, and then, I actually want to change this out and whatever. So the skills themselves will level up as you just kind of have them equipped and you're playing through and killing stuff. So you can see right there. It also has a nice tag system, which I really like, because it makes it easy to know, like, this supports that, this supports that, this is good for this. And then, of course, just really good information about everything that happens for the skill. So it's really, really well done. You also get a nice, graphic of like this. Okay, that's not good for my damage right there, but like this will be not quite as good for the damage, but it does, have cold resist penetration, which could be nice. So you can kind of get a good sense of like what it is that you're adding, if it's going to be helpful or not. Don't always trust the tooltip 100% on like this is more damage or not. You definitely want to go test that yourself, but it at the very least kind of gives you some sense right there. So really a very nice skill system overall. I think it's really fun to use. And the part that's really cool about the energy is energy comes from your level and your gear. So if I look right here, level up, change gear, and craft gear, this is how you get energy gain. So for instance, if I have, this helm right here, it only gets up to 16 energy, right? But this helm gets up to 43 energy. However, maybe I want to wear this helm because that -6% additional physical damage taken and some crit strike damage and cast speed isn't something I get on this helm right here. So you have to say, okay, well, what's gonna be worth it if I swap this over? You know, if I go into my inventory and this helm, it's a little bit more survival and a little bit more damage. That's great, but now my energy has dropped. And so if I go in here, 365 out of 371. Okay, so I can make do with that. But if I needed that like 398, then I wouldn't be able to, right? Additionally, you can always go in and re-roll. So I'll go ahead and select this. This rolls 1 to 34. So I can always refine it. And this is just random rolling it. And boom, okay, that's now 25. Okay, that's a little bit better. I like that. So I'm going to go ahead and keep that at 25. You can go in, try and roll it up with some of your currency that you find to get a little bit more energy. And then if you equip that, of course, your total energy will go up, which will allow you to have more slots on all of your stuff, which can be a really big DPS increase, or that piece that's going to give you a little more survivability, or whatever it is, right? So the combination skill energy balance that you get as you're playing through the game and as you're adjusting your gear and stuff is really, really interesting. I just found it to be fantastic. I was constantly changing it up and in love with just how that system worked, because it made me think, and I just like systems that make you think. So, you know, finding that balance and whatnot, it just felt like good game design. Moving on to the talent tree, we can go to the overview here. You have your main talent, essentially, that you're moving into, and then you have the subsets of those, the sub-trees below. So I have the Goddess of Knowledge. This is kind of the main tree for my character right here. And these are just going to be, you know, pretty basic, right? Attack speed, damage, crit strike, converts cold damage, you know, physical to cold, intelligence, max focus blessing, sealed mana, which is whenever you your auras and stuff will, you know, make it so you have less mana pool, but it seals it, right? That's essentially that. +1 to spell skill level, so this is really good for my character because, you know, that's added damage for me, whatever it is. Then you go into the next one and you're just getting, you know, again, some life, some cold resist right there, some cold damage, some max life, max mana, blah, blah, blah. Again, you're just going through and really getting the different pieces of the talent tree that you would like. And this game allows you to reset these whenever you would like until you're level 80. And then at that point, they become permanent. But of course, you can use resources that you find, Oblivion points, to revert some of the ones that you don't actually want. So if I wanted to revert this, I could push this. And then that would be, you know, revert the talent node, cost 37, or cost one of those. And I have 37 of those. So you find those throughout the game as you're playing along. And so you can, you know, always go in and kind of balance it out. But if I wanted to undo my entire talent tree, that would be pretty hard after past level 80, right? Additionally, you have these major nodes, and these can be really game or build defining, whatever it is. So max focus blessing stacks +1, a 3% additional spell damage per stack of focus blessing owned. So this right here could be very heavily focused around focus blessing. Double energy shield regain. If I go heavy into that, this could be really good. 30% additional max energy shield. Your max life is set to 2, right? So this is running, if I'm running an energy shield build, I could go for shell right there, and then, I could maybe go for something. Energy shield charge started recently, cannot be interrupted by damage, right? And increased charge speed. And so this would be a completely different build style than what I have here, which is, you know, additional main skill spell damage, minus additional cooldown recovery speed. You know, if you have a really nice weapon and you're using a lot of various spells, maybe you want Mind Blade. Definitely make sure that you are getting to these. You need 36 talent points in the current tree, the Arcanist tree, the Magister tree, the Goddess of Knowledge tree. You need 20 to get these. And so make sure that you're getting these major nodes because they really can be an important part of your character and your build overall. And the last piece of these sorts of putting your points in is the Pact tree right here. These are just going to be things like, again, plus resistances, plus to damage, minus damage taken, plus elemental damage. So you work the inner node first, and once you get like these two, you can get this. Once you get these three, you can get this main one, right? So if you work to these outer nodes, you get more and more bonus from it, but of course it takes more investment. And then if you get these little Pact spirits right here, which I just got a few from playing through the game, they give you a few different little bonuses that you can use. And they tell you right here, the outer ring gains bonus affix, Pact point +1, effects in the outer ring, effects of non-bonus affixes, blah, blah, blah. You can read on what every Pact spirit does. You can upgrade your Pact spirits. And essentially, for this case, this one has experience earned as a potential that he brings in. So when I was leveling up, I put this on experience earned, and it was very nice. Helped me level up a little bit faster. When I was fighting the endgame boss, I switched this back over to the standard elemental resistance. If I want to increase my drop quantity, I can come over here and I can drop, change the drop quantity ones for all of these right here for, my happy chonky Pact spirit. So on and so forth. Just a nice little way to, again, add a little bit of boost, add some damage to your character, add some resistance, minus damage taken, whatever it is. And so those are just kind of a nice final little piece. Now, moving on into itemization in this game, it really is quite fantastic, I do want to say. So I'm going to open up my inventory and talk through a little bit. First off, like I talked about before, you have the energy on it. So that right there already gives you a little bit of something that you're going to be thinking about, considering, because items will have a max energy that they can get, such as this one can't get, I think 17 is its max, maybe 18 or something. It can't get as much energy as this helmet. So I know that I'm going to have a lower energy if I have that, but I'm going to get, other things, right? This adds armor, this adds evasion. Do I want more armor? Do I want more evasion? That's kind of something that I'll have to decide. Plus, of course, all the other affixes. Now, additionally, what I really love about this game is the affixes just make sense. They're simple, and you get a good picture of what you're getting with the item, right? Spell block chance, added physical damage, elemental damage, energy shield, fire resist, cold resist, and intelligence. They're just pretty straightforward affixes right there. And you really know when you're playing, I'm fighting a boss and he just has really high erosion damage. Okay, I need to go stack up some more erosion resistance, So I really do think the pool of affixes that they're grabbing from is quite nice. And you do have, of course, on your unique pieces right here, you'll have things like you're cursed by level 10 blind, but minus 51% additional projectile damage taken, right? This is the pierced curse armor, and 85% gear evasion. So kind of an interesting piece right there. This one has just like a bunch of damage for fire, cold, and lightning, the elemental whisper belt. So really kind of hits all of that. And you can see that it has added damage here. And a little less survivability, but if I didn't need, as much survivability, you would think maybe I would consider using this. But for my character, I'll show you guys right here. If I'm shooting and I'm using all of my spells, and you look at my mana, I am able to sustain all of my mana with that, right? But if I switch over to this belt, which increases my damage, hooray, and I try and do that, I run into insufficient mana, and it actually kind of destroys my build a little bit, because my build really needs to have fast mana regen to keep up, especially since I'm sealing so much away. So it's really, really interesting. Again, you can see this has 66% mana regen. I love when I'm keeping on, this item right here that's not quite as good, because it has an affix that's really helping my build at this time. That to me is always really interesting. I always hate when it's just always upgrade, always just put on the next thing, whatever. So, you know, these items right here, having that ability where I say, well, I want to put this on, but I don't have another great mana regen source. So until I find something like that, I won't be able to make that switch. And then it gets you to think more about how you're building all of your stuff. You know, I definitely passed up better pieces of gear many times because it wasn't getting me the energy I needed. It wasn't getting me the mana regen. It wasn't, you know, I was losing faster run walk, whatever it was. And to me, that was really one of my favorite things. That's something I really like about itemization. And I think they did a really good job with in Torchlight Infinite. In addition to this, with crafting, you have your arms dealer where you can craft and enchant. Gear empowerment was just with the energy like I showed you before. But you can craft and enchant different things onto stuff. So I could say, hey, these boots are really nice. 28% elemental damage, 25% lightning resist. That's great, but I really want to get a little bit more going on here, right? So I can look at this and I can go for crafting and I can see what sorts of things I want to craft. Perfect. I want to craft movement speed, and this crafts 9% movement speed if you've been hit recently, which is not bad. Additionally, it did keep my previous roll, which is really great. Now, if I didn't want to, if I was like, that's not the one I wanted, I can just take the old one, and then I can try crafting it again. And here you can see 90% movement speed if you haven't been hit recently, but I lose my additional lightning resist. So I want to come back, I can craft it again. 4% move speed if you haven't been hit recently, but I lose my elemental damage. I definitely don't want to keep that. And you can continue to do this. And hey, that's pretty nice. 10% move speed if you haven't been hit recently. And I get to keep my 2 affixes. I'll go ahead and move up there, right? So you can do this sort of stuff to just craft onto your various pieces of gear. It's really fun for all of the crafting. And then the higher up that pieces of gear get, the more expensive it's going to be to craft onto them. And then additionally, you can do enchanting, where you can take a piece of gear and you can look to add something onto it, right? So I could add some gear evasion onto this and, you know, find a way right there, right? Okay, boom. Now I've got 81 gear evasion on these gloves right here. So you can go ahead and go through and add just different pieces. And that's really nice because, again, if you run into it and go, ah, dang, I'm actually low on fire resist, you can go in, you can craft some fire resist on some pieces for yourself, and it can just be, you know, really nice. It plays a really big role, I would say, in itemization, and it's always nice to be able to go get that currency while you're grinding that you can then come back and craft with and stuff. It's really just a fun time. Now, if you don't want to be doing that, or if you're doing that but you're also looking for other things to do, you can go to the trade house. And the trade house is really fun because it really is a little just like open. So you can just go and you can look for, oh, I really want an infinity belt. I can go to the belts. I can look here. I can search and I can see all the different infinity belts that exist, what the cost is going to be. That's just like the main currency that people trade with, Flame Elementium. So I can look at the different belts, what they have, what the cost is, yada, yada, yada. And that can be really great, right? If I want to get even more in depth, I can go into the advanced tab right here. And maybe I want to look for, you know, an item. It's a helm that has 70 is the item level. And it's got immune to blinding on it, right? Okay, well, blind vision, that's going to be that unique item right there. And if I search here, oh, sorry, base gear, I can search on right here, and I can look for one that is a Knights Captain face card. Oh, there's none there. All right, we'll remove immune to binding. Let's just go here. Okay, and now I'm finding some Mountain Lord helmets right here that have a variety of things and are going to meet whatever my requirements are, right? So it's really nice. You can really dive into the weeds of all of this. I can, you know, continue and say, I also want this to have I can have strength on it, and fire resistance, and cold resistance. And it'll bring up pieces of armor that have strength, fire resist, and cold resist all on it right there, and is that helmet type. So it's really cool. There's so much you can do in the trade house. There's so much stuff that you can go and buy, and it's just really nice, right? It's just a very nice addition to it all. To have that, I feel like you could go and just play the market if you really wanted. You could just jump into the trade house and just start trading, and it would be fantastic, right? You could just like, oh, that's undervalued, I'm gonna buy that, I'm gonna sell it for more, and if you wanted, you could just play trade all day and maybe not even go out. I think it's got that sort of feel to it. So I really like the trade house as well within it. I'm always a proponent of trade. So, that's just kind of me. Now, that we've talked about items and the skills and all of this, let's start to take a dive over here into the end game, right? So the end game, once you've played through the story, you will unlock the Nether Realm, and you're going to be moving through this. This is your mapping system. So you have the Glacial Abyss right here. You have the Blistering Lava Sea. These are the two you start with. And then as you collect cinders by defeating the bosses, you'll unlock Steelforge, Thunderways, Voidlands, and ultimately Realm Lord, where the Traveler is. So you kind of work your way through all of this. And then within each of these zones, you're going to be using a deck of cards. And this is just how you can kind of get like additional attention right here, right? That's to make it so you can reach the boss faster, because you have to clear 8 of these zones to get to this boss. But if you do a regretful map that has that card on it, then you get 2 times the attention. So you get 2 out of 8 instead of 1 out of 8. If you do Generous, drop gear is +1 level. If you do Zeal, magic monsters have a 3.9 chance to drop 1 additional Ember, right? So you're going to be building out these cards, essentially, building your deck every time that you go and play through. This is called Chaos Invasion. I would highly recommend reading up on Chaos Invasion if you really want to get into the end game of Torchlight Infinite, as that's going to be very important. But you can use this, and you don't have to. Again, if you don't want to get into all the, like, I need to be profit farming and finding the best way to get all this, the Flame Elementium and all of that. If you don't want to do all that stuff, you don't have to get as crazy. You can just kind of read the basics and say, hey, bosses drop additional beacons. Cool, I'll do that. And you can always learn, right? Click on anything, and it'll tell you, of course, because there's really great tooltips in this. So essentially, you work your way through the time marks. So you have time mark 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7 right there. And that's all I have right now. I believe you go up to time mark 8, or time mark 7 Traveler, and then you have Space Turbulence for time mark 8. I believe so. So you pick whichever time mark you want, and then you can go in and fight in the different areas and essentially do the map. And then you, of course, get 1 more attention. Once you get your attention up to that max amount, you get to go and fight this boss. And all of these fights were amazing. I just want to say the battles in this game, the fights in this game were super, super cool. All the boss fights. I wish that, Diablo 2, my main game, had anywhere near as cool as fights as they do in this game. So I really loved all the bosses. I was constantly having to dodge and learn their patterns and all of that. It was really fun. So I really appreciate how much they put into that. But yeah, essentially you're going through and you're just beating these different areas, building your deck out, and then getting further and further as you progress through the time marks until eventually you do get your way to the Traveler right there. And here you can see it says kill 4 or more to unlock it again, because I already beat him. So I'd have to go and unlock again, and this would be the further one to, do the next part, right? I need to now beat it all on time mark 7 to then unlock right there again. So like I said, it's super fun. And I'm trying to think if there's anything else with this end game. I mean, there's a lot that you can learn. But essentially, the further you get into maps, the better drops that you're going to be getting. And of course, the harder that it's going to get. It was a really fun system, though. I did enjoy it a lot, and there was just a lot to learn with all of that. So that is going to be, I think, my overview right there of the game. I think that's a pretty good deep dive into it. Now, obviously, you could make hours and hours long videos for, you know, any sort of guide for a character, for skill optimization, for farming tricks, for endgame chaos invasion deck building strategies. Like, you could do all of that, but I really want to dive into all the different specifics about the game and, you know, at least give a good sense of all of the pieces, you know. But like, I didn't mention that there's like precise gems that you can get and awakened gems that are going to be a little bit better. You know, there's still like more depth to the game. It really does have a solid amount of depth to it, but it never felt super overwhelming. I always felt like I was able to pick up on it. I was able to learn. I was able to move forward. And then the next system, I would kind of get used to that. And there were, you know, little pieces where I was like, oh, you know, I should have been doing this a little bit earlier and stuff. But I never felt like this system is just way beyond me and I have absolutely no clue. And I think a lot of that really comes from the help system. So let me dive into my final tips for you if you are going to play this game. Number 1, use the dummy right here for DPS checks. It's just really, really good. You can just sit here and you can check your average DPS, and that can just be super helpful, right? That's just like a really, really good way to figure out if your gear, if your skills, if your hero traits, you know, when you swap it around, is it so much worse now? Is it better, right? All of that. This is where you're really going to get a good sense of what is your DPS. So definitely use this when you are trying to figure out, does this actually increase my damage or not? Number 2, do not be afraid to try out various hero trait, talent, and combinations. You can always switch these around. And then, of course, like I said before, you can go back to the dummy. And here you can see, oh man, look at how much worse my DPS is. This is what my setup was prior to me realizing that I needed the other hero trait, right? So don't be afraid to go in and check all of that out and realize, oh, hey, this is so much better. And same thing with kind of talents and with your hero, with your packs. Like, don't be afraid. Go in, mess around with that stuff, change it up, see how your character does. Number 3, if you can get close to or max out your resistances, at least your light, cold, and fire, that's going to help you a lot. I definitely noticed whenever I had a resistance that was like 50% or 40%, if I was getting hit by some like, you know, fire or something and I had 50-40% there, I would see my character taking a lot more damage and it was way more dangerous. So definitely max these out and learn which bosses have which damage types. And so you can kind of be prepared as well for that. You know, you don't want to walk into a battle with, you know, really low cold resist against the ice plains, you know, glacial abyss boss, right? He'll just like decimate you with his damage. So really be careful of that. Number 4, use the trade market. Again, it's just right up there. It unlocks at level 60, and it's just a fabulous place where you can go and get awesome gear, awesome upgrades. You're not going to be able to find every single thing in the game that you want while you're like playing through and all of that. So just utilizing that can be really nice to just kind of get some of those pieces. And especially like, I know when I was going to the end game and I was fighting the Traveler and I was dying and dying, I had really low erosion resist. And I was like, you know what? I need to go get that boosted. So I went, I shot for erosion resistance gear and I boosted it up. And then I had 57% in the end, which was pretty good, right? It definitely made it a lot easier in the fight. And lastly, well, I guess 2 things. Number 1, make sure to use all those help tips. They even have a help right down here where you can literally go and learn about everything. You know, evade, character build armor, character build ignore resistance. Literally everything you can ever want is in here. They did such a fantastic job about giving you all the information you need. Highly recommend that you come in and look at all of that stuff. And then my last tip is going to be focus on energy, and always be aware that changing your skills will change your energy total and may brick some of your skills. So if I'm sitting there and I get this like awesome, new piece of armor, and I'm like, oh, this is so good, and I install that and I'm like, perfect, that's gonna be great for me. I need to always come back in and realize, oh wait, that actually wrecked my energy, and so I've actually lost, like I don't have any more energy right now for this. So I can't activate any of my skills from Death Pact, and I'm one short on precise projectiles because I don't have enough energy for it. So I need to figure out a way to either get that back, or maybe I don't make that gear change out, right? Maybe I say, you know what, I actually do want to have this piece of gear on, and then since I have put it back on, I need to come back in here and activate my skills again, right? Oh, hold on, let me put. Yeah. Oh wait, we have to allocate the energy. Sorry. It's like, what's going on? Allocate the energy, and then we can activate it. And perfect. Now I've got everything activated again. We're good to go. So those are going to be my final tips. And lastly, just have fun. It really is a pretty fun game. You really can do a lot with your builds. You can figure out what you like, what you don't like, what's working for you. And you can just kind of go from there, So the build that I was running was not like a perfectly meta build. It definitely was a little iffy in some places as I went along. But the more that I learned and the more that I experimented with stuff, the better it got. And so really, I just had a lot of fun with it. So those are my tips. That is my deep dive into Torchlight Infinite. I hope that this was helpful. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them down below. I'll happily answer. I'm not a professional with the game by any means, but I did have a pretty good run through the game. Plus, I read a lot about it. And so I do feel like I have at least a decent amount of knowledge with the game and could answer a lot of stuff. So with that being said, thanks for watching YouTube. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Peace, everybody.